Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to this video. Today we are going to study few interview questions which are asked in the context of jQuery. In this video, I am going to ask you few questions on jQuery and will give you answers too. So let's see what we are going to cover in this video. This is divided. This video is divided into three parts. So questions for beginners, questions for intermediates, and question for advanced level. So let's come to our today's agenda. We will be covering some of the interview questions for beginners, intermediate, and advanced level programmers. These questions will help you to recheck your jQuery knowledge as well as help you in cracking the interviews. So coming to the very first question. So this is the most common question asked to the introduction. What is jQuery? So please let me know what is jQuery. So jQuery is fast, lightweight, feature-rich client-side JavaScript library. Before jQuery, JavaScript codes were lengthy and bigger, even for small functions. jQuery is lightweight, write less, do more JavaScript library. jQuery is a JavaScript library designed to simplify HTML DOM, tree traversal, and manipulation, as well as event handling, CSS animation, and Ajax. So this is what we need to see when we are asked what is jQuery. So coming to our very next top question, what is the difference between JavaScript and jQuery? So this is the second question which everyone asks us. So the difference between jQuery and JavaScript is the simple difference is that JavaScript is a language while jQuery is a built-in library built for JavaScript. jQuery simplifies the uses of JavaScript language. And the third one is JavaScript is interpreted programming language, whereas jQuery is a library with APIs built for JavaScript. So these are the major three differences of JavaScript and jQuery. There are many more differences which are there, but those differences are not that much of important. So coming to our next question, is jQuery a programming language? So this is the question which is being frequently asked in the interviews. So jQuery is a programming languages or not? So the answer is no. jQuery is not a programming language, but a well-written JavaScript framework. It is used to traverse document, event handling, Ajax interaction, and animation. So this is the answer we need to give when anyone asks, is jQuery a programming language? So coming to our next question, what are the features of jQuery? So some of the interviewers may ask you, what are the features of jQuery? Please explain them. So the features of jQuery is easy DOM manipulation. You can change the HTML element whenever you want on any event with the help of jQuery. Event handling and Ajax support. So there is no event which can't be handled by jQuery. Almost all events of DOM are being handled by jQuery, and definitely supports the Ajax. Yes, you can use Ajax with the jQuery. So the next feature is built-in effects and animation. So you can do the animation transition in the CSS with the help of jQuery. So jQuery is a lightweight library. So when you download the jQuery from the CDN, you can see it is not more than 100 KB. So a 100 KB file less than 100 KB is loaded in a just fraction of second. And moreover, the last one is the cross-browser compatibility. So cross-browser compatibility means that jQuery can be run in any of the browsers. So the community of the jQuery is working very widely on these jQuery libraries so that they can work on all the major browsers. So coming to the next question. What are the ways to include jQuery on a page? How you can write a jQuery on a page, or you can say. So there are basically three ways. First, include the JS file, which has the jQuery code into the HTML document. So write a separate file for jQuery, including into the HTML document. So very next type is you can introduce jQuery in HTML pages. Write a script tag in the head of the HTML document, and then write the jQuery language element. And the third type is you can write code in HTML element also. So these are the three types where you can introduce jQuery into the HTML. Okay, so coming to our next question. So uh, what is jQuery? What is dollar in jQuery library? So the dollar function is an alias of jQuery function. It is used to wrap an object into jQuery object, which later facilitates you to call the various method defined jQuery object. You can pass a selector string to dollar function and it returns a jQuery object, which contains an array of all matched DOM elements. So dollar or jQuery, you can write anything to access the jQuery functions. So coming to our next question, is it possible that jQuery HTML work for HTML and XML document? So does jQuery works with both XML or HTML? Let's see. No, jQuery HTML only works for HTML document. It doesn't work for XML document. So if anyone asks, XML and HTML are same. So can jQuery access both? No, it can access only HTML. So coming to our next question, what is the use of HTML function method in jQuery? How we are using HTML method in jQuery? So the jQuery HTML method is used to change the entire content of the selected element. It replaces the selected element content with the new given content. Suppose here you can see here a function is defined in which when document is ready, a button click is defined. On button click, what we are doing, we are changing the HTML of a paragraph, all the paragraph. Okay, so suppose a paragraph is being defined and it is having anything. So when the button is clicked, it will be showing hello mindmajix.com. So this is the use of HTML method in jQuery. Coming to the next question. What is the use of CSS method in jQuery? So how CSS method is used in jQuery? The jQuery CSS method is used to get or set style properties or values for selected elements. It facilitates you to get one or more styled properties. The jQuery CSS properties provide two ways. Set a CSS property, return a CSS property. So you can set the CSS property by using the left hand side function, and it will return you that property by right hand function. So suppose on button click, we are setting a label CSS color as red. So when you want to check what is the color of that label, you need to say $label.css color. It will give you the details of the color present in it. Okay. So coming to the next question. So is jQuery library used for server scripting or client-side scripting? jQuery library is server-side or client-side? This is the most common question being asked in many interviews. So to answer it, yes, it is a library for client-side scripting. It is not a server-side scripting. So jQuery is designed with the functionality for client-side scripting. jQuery is not compatible with server-side scripting. It is purely a client-side scripting. All the client-side scripts can be run using jQuery. So coming to the next question, these questions are somewhat tougher than the basic questions which we have seen in our last content questions. So these are the questions for the intermediates. So once you have completed the basic level, these questions will be you need to answer it. So you can. So what the next question is? Can you use multiple document-ready function on the same page? This is the question which I mostly ask the question during my sessions. So can there be many document.ready? Yes, you can use any number of document.ready function on the same page. So you can use first document, second document, they all will be executed, no error will be there. So if you will be executing first document.ready where you are changing the color of header 1 to blue, then there is another document.ready in which you are changing the color of paragraph as pink. So it will be coloring both header as blue and p as pink. So you can write multiple document.ready. So coming to the next question. What is a CDN and what are the advantages of using a CDN? So CDN, Content Delivery Network. So one of the question is being asked is what is CDN? And you all know that to use the JavaScript library we require CDN. So the answer is CDN stands for Content Delivery Network, a content distribution network. It is a large distribution system of servers deployed in a multiple data centers across the internet. It reduces the load from the server. It saves bandwidth. jQuery framework is loaded faster from these CDN. If a user regularly visits a site which is using jQuery framework from any of these CDN, it will be saved in the cache of the server and your site will be loaded more fastly. So coming up to the next question. What is the use of delay method in jQuery? Why we use delay method? So as you all know, delay is given to delay the insert the delay in any of function. So the jQuery delay method is used to delay the execution of the function in the queue. The jQuery delays method sets a timer to delay the execution of the next item in the queue. So you can give the value how much you want to delay. So the delay method takes the value in millisecond and you can delay the next function which is in the queue. So coming up to the next question. What is the difference between onload and document.ready method? So this is the most common question being used if you are 1 or 2 year experience in the jQuery. So what is the difference between load and ready? So body.onload event will be called only after DOM and associated resource like images get loaded. So once the images on your DOM is being loaded, then only the body.onload is being called. But document.ready event will be called once the DOM is loaded and it does not wait for the resources such as images to be loaded. So DOM is ready, then document is ready. It will not wait to load the other resources. So this is the basic difference between the onload and the ready document. So the next question is coming. What are the events in the jQuery? Events, single click, double click, loading, disabling. What are these events? So responding to the user action on a web page is called event. jQuery provides simple methods for attaching event handlers to the section. When an event occurs, the provided function is executed. So all these are called as events: single click, double click, page load, on text change, on input focus, on focus out. All these events are being covered in jQuery. So next question is, what are the jQuery selectors? And name the basic type of selectors. So selectors. The selectors find the HTML elements using jQuery. There are many types of selectors in jQuery libraries. Or some of the basic selectors are, you can select using name like div, p, h1. You can select by using hash id, name of the id given to the particular attribute of the HTML. Using the class dot universal for all the components used asterisk, using the data attributes. So these are the few methods where you can which are the jQuery selectors which are used to select the HTML elements. So here comes the next question. What is the difference between ID selector and class selector? So ID starts with hash and class start with dot. So this is the difference. The ID selector and the class selector are the same as they are in CSS. ID select uses ID while the class selector uses a class to select elements. You use an ID selector to select just one element. If you want to select a same group of element, you can use same CSS class to use the class selector. So this is the difference between a ID selector and a class selector. Moving up to our next question. Differentiate among empty, remove, and detach. So these three functions are, or we can say methods of jQuery, are having a small kind of difference. And many of the jQuery programmers get confused while using .empty, .remove, and .detach function. So let me tell you what these functions do and what are the differences. So remove removes the element as well as its child elements. Data from DOM can be restored. However, event handlers can't be restored. So DOM data can be restored, but event handlers are not restored. So what does an empty functions do? Does not remove the element, however, remove its content and associated child element. So its element and its child element are being removed. Its content has been removed. That tag will become empty. And what does the detach do? Remove all the element and all the associated child element, but retain the data and event handler of the removed element to be reused later. If you detach an HTML tag, you can later attach it back. Okay, so the functions and the DOM elements and the data will remain there. So this is the basic difference between remove, empty, and detach. Moving to our next question. Difference between property and attribute. So what is the difference between a property and attribute? You can set the value using both property and attribute. What is its difference? So the point says initial and current. Let's see what is the answer. Both attribute and property can be used to set or get the element values. So both are used for setting and getting the element values. So attribute return the original value, default value, default. What is the default value of that one? And property returns the most recent value. So for example, if text input had an initial value of right and later it was changed by the user to wrong, attribute will return the value as right, whereas property will return the value as wrong. So if you want the default value, what was the first value, you use attribute. If you want the current value, you use prop. So next question is, what is the use of animate method in jQuery? What is its use? So the animate function is used to apply the custom animation effect to the element. Syntax is, you need a selector in jQuery, then .animate. It is having 4 parameters: param, duration, easing, and callback. So param is the CSS property on which you want to apply animation. Duration, it can be slow, fast, normal, millisecond, how long the animation runs. Okay. Easing is the string which specifies the function for the transition. And the callback, what function you need to call when the animation is completed. So this is all about the jQuery animate method. So coming to our next question, these questions are somewhat more advanced. So these questions, when you are having experience of 3 to 4 years, these questions are being asked, or maybe asked if you are having experience more than 2 years. So let us see what are these questions which are being asked during the interviews. What are the advantages of jQuery Ajax method? So jQuery Ajax method. jQuery, you all know, and Ajax is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So the advantages are cross-browser support. As I already told you, jQuery community is the biggest community, one of the biggest community, which has been working and providing us support across all the major browsers. Simple methods to use. So there are simple methods from which we can use the Ajax method. So jQuery has the ability to send get and post request using Ajax. Okay, and ability to load JSON, XML, HTML or scripts. So with the help of jQuery Ajax method, we can load JSON, XML, HTML and scripts. Coming to the next question, what are the jQuery Ajax event? So there are so many jQuery Ajax events, but what are they? The jQuery library also include events that will be fired based on the Ajax request state. These are called Ajax events. Whenever an Ajax request is about to send, jQuery checks whether there are any other outstanding Ajax requests. If none are in progress, jQuery triggers a Ajax start event. Any handlers that have been registered with the Ajax start method are executed at this time. Whenever an Ajax request completes, jQuery triggers the Ajax complete event. Any handlers that have been registered with the Ajax complete method are executed at this time. So these two methods are there, Ajax start and Ajax complete. There are so many other methods also, but we have described two of them. So whenever you being asked about jQuery Ajax events, you need to define what is jQuery Ajax event and what are one or two Ajax methods, so that the answer gets completed. So coming to our next question, what is the difference between find and children methods? So both methods are used to filter the child of the matched element. The find method is used to find all the levels down the down tree. Suppose it is having 5 to 6 hierarchy, it will search all 5, 6 hierarchies. But the children method searches only a single level down the down tree. Means if you have 6 level, it will go to the only level 1 if you are on level 0. So it is better to use find method when you want to search along all the levels. But if you want to know that the element is at the very next level, you can use children. So the next question is, what is jQuery mobile? Yes, this is the one of the question and one of the technology which is being required at the senior level. jQuery mobile is an HTML5 based user interface system designed to make responsive websites and apps accessible on all the smartphones, tablets and desktop devices. So jQuery mobile is an HTML5 based user interface. Okay, so keep this in the mind. So coming to our next question, what is the difference between jquery.min.js and jQuery.js? So this is being asked because when you are creating a project, so which file you should include during your development and your production environment? Okay, so what is difference between both these files? So jquery.min.js is a compressed version of jquery.js. White spaces and comments are removed, shorter variable names are used, and so on to preserve the bandwidth. In terms of functionality, they are absolutely same. It is recommended to use the compressed version in the production environment, as I have already said. The efficiency of the web page increases when the minimized version of the jQuery is used. So you need to use the minified version always in your production environment. And while doing development, you can use jQuery. So next question is, what is jQuery UI? jQuery user interface. jQuery UI is a set of user interface interaction, effects, widgets, and themes built on the top of the query JavaScript library, jQuery JavaScript libraries. jQuery UI works well for highly interactive web applications with many controls or for a simple page with a date picker control. So there are some controls given in the jQuery UI library where you can call the what you can say pop-up or date picker control, and many things are there already which you need not to create. Okay, so you can use jQuery UI for the same. So what is Qunit? So Qunit is the one of the testing tool for the JS. Qunit is a powerful, easy to use JavaScript unit testing framework. It's used by jQuery, jQuery UI, and jQuery mobile projects and is capable of testing any generic JavaScript code. But during your development life cycle, whatever you have written needs to be checked, needs to be QA, or needs to be tested. So this is being done with the help of Qunit. Coming to the next question, what is jQuery.noconflict? So this is the one of the important questions And one of the important point which you need to keep in mind while using multiple libraries. So many JavaScript library uses dollar as a function or variable name, just as jQuery does. Okay. In jQuery case, dollar is just an alias of jQuery. So all functionality is available without using dollar. If you need to use other JavaScript library alongside jQuery, return control of dollar back to the other library with a call. So $.noconflict. So here an example, if you place like jQuery.noconflict, then the function is defined, and in the first function you can write your jQuery code, more code using dollar as alias to jQuery, and after that function you can put jQuery in bracket and terminate it with semicolon. Then you can other code using dollar as an alias to other library. So it will prevent the conflicts between the both the libraries. Okay. So coming to our next question, what is the difference between width and CSS width? So these both question plays a very tricky role. So let's see what is the difference between width function and CSS width function. So CSS width function returns the width value in pixel, whereas width function returns the integer value. Example, suppose there is a div defined with the width of 20 pixels. So let me access that with div width and CSS width. So for our left side image CSS, if we run right side jQuery, we will get the values like 20 and 20 pixels. If you will run dot width function, it will give you 20 without pixel. And if you will run the CSS width function, it will give you 20 pixels. So this is the basic difference between both the functions. So coming to our next question. And the last question is, what is the method chaining in jQuery and what are the advantages? So chaining method. So chain, you all know, binding one to another. So jQuery is smart in this. So with chaining, multiple jQuery commands on a particular element can be executed in one go. It helps implementing various sections on an element at once rather than executing them one after another. So here you can see there is a header h1 whose CSS we are changing as pink, and then we are animating it to from right from 200 px and we are sliding up to the 100. So we can write this in three parts, but using the chaining function method of jQuery, it can be done into a single one. So these are the few questions being shared by me. Hope you know some of them, and some of them being not being now you know all these questions. So if you have any query, any suggestions, please write us. We appreciate your feedback, and this will help us to improve in delivering qualitative training further. Thank you. Thank you everyone. Till our next video. Bye.